Okay, back with another chill video where we look at a remote island that not many people know about. A lot of you guys wanted me to look at the Kamchatka Peninsula, and when I was looking through here, there are a lot of really cool places, but one island really stood out to me. It was this one right here. It's really small, there's no civilizations on it. It doesn't even have a name until you zoom in really far. It says Verkhoturov Island, and there's really no other info on this place. So I wanted to search it and see if anything was there. Now, the reason I titled this video like I did is because there's really hardly any information about this place, and interestingly, there's no dedicated English Wikipedia page to this island, because a lot of these super remote small islands up here have their own Wikipedia page, yet this one down here has nothing, well, at least in English. But we'll look into that a little later. When you search for this island online, the first thing that came up for me was a Wikipedia article about Karaginsky Island, which is this huge one down here with a lot of cool stuff. Here's the Wikipedia page for Karaginsky Island, and there's just a small paragraph at the bottom that talks about Verkhoturov Island. It just says it's a small and narrow island, and it lies north of Karaginsky Island, and doesn't say anything more about it. Now, zooming in on Verkhoturov Island, you can't really see what's going on because it's so snowy in this. It looks really bright, so it's hard to tell if there's any buildings or anything on this place. But let's go over to Apple Maps like we usually do. Okay, now we're on Apple Maps, and we can see this place a lot more clearly. It looks pretty mountainous, but there's nothing striking about this place. It doesn't look like there's any buildings. And before I started doing a deep dive on this place, I zoomed in all throughout the island, and I could only find one thing that looked like a structure. This right here on the left side. It looks like some sort of lighthouse, as you can see the shadow protrudes in pretty much a straight pattern. Other than that, this island is pretty much barren. Eventually, I searched this island in the Russian characters and ended up finding this Wikipedia article, which is actually originally in Russian, but this has been translated by my computer, and it describes this place in a little more detail. Although I don't like just relying on Wikipedia for my sources, and this Wikipedia article doesn't have the best sources for this, but let's see what it says. It does mention that this island was named after this guy, who was named Verkhoturov, who died on this island in 1705 while collecting yasak, which based on this was a tax of furs. Wikipedia also mentions that there was a fur farm on this island, and people released 6 pairs of white Arctic foxes here at one point in the 20s. It also mentions that there was a song written about this island in 1966. But anyways, that's enough of Wikipedia. Let's see what other sources we can find. Okay, so I tried the first thing I usually do when researching these videos, looking it up on newspapers.com and searching the name of the island and even the Russian name for the island. Nothing actually came up on it, which is kind of bizarre because usually there's at least a couple random articles about these random islands, but this one had nothing, at least in the mostly English database that I was looking at. Next, I went to oldmapsonline.org to start to look to see if any of these old maps had the island on there. This is one of the oldest ones I could find of the region from 1754, and this is where the island should be. Here's Karaginsky Island, but you can see above it, there's no Verkhoturov Island. Here's a slightly later map from 1804. Coming up to that same region, they fail to mention Verkhoturov Island. It does look like this area is in a little more detail than the last map, but they still didn't find it. Okay, now we're in 1827, and let's zoom into that same area to see if it's there, and it does not look like it's there. Although this map is in even more detail than the last one. Okay, this map's from 1867, and zooming in, it looks like we do have the island up here. Here's Karaginsky Island down here, and then there is a small island, which they don't name on here, but I'm guessing is Verkhoturov Island. They also show another island over here to the west. You can see Verkhoturov is a lot farther off the cape than it showed on there, and there's not a clear island over here, although they could be referring to this place, as there's just a small bit of land connecting this to the mainland. Also, interestingly, there's an entire town up here, right on this little strip, and they're pretty crammed packed in here, but that would be a wild place to live, right in between two seas like this, probably with pretty bad ice in the winter too. But anyways, let's go back to Verkhoturov. Okay, here's a map from 1923, so it's bound to be a lot better, and you can see it's in way greater detail than the other ones. You can see Verkhoturov Island way up here, although it's not the exact right shape. Okay, let's go back to the history of this place. After clicking through multiple pages of Google to find any information on Verkhoturov Island, I found this website from a Russian radio amateur forum, and it shows Verkhoturov Island with a little shed that's here and a lot of stuff going on outside. Looks like they called it IOTA AS 064. Here's some more images of this place, and it looks really beautiful. although I can't tell exactly when these photos were taken. In this photo, you can see a lot more of the mountainous part of it. This photo just looks so cool. I would love to get this as like a painting in my house or something. Okay, actually just kidding. It has the date down here. Looks like it was uploaded in 2011. Not sure if that's when these photos were taken, but that's also what they show here on Google Earth. They said copyright 2011 and it says it down here as well. So that's how I'm guessing these people went on this trip, but not 100% sure. Also, this is a side note. I was just clicking through images on here. This is not in Verkhoturov Island, but this image is super badass. I don't know where they took this, but this is awesome. After a while of digging, I found this website, which has a lot of photos from it. I'll link it down in the description to give it proper credit. Looks like they landed ashore on a boat. A lot of puffins here too, which is really cool. This article does mention that Russian sailors knew about it since the 17th century, and there was a temporary Koryak settlement on it, and it had a name before it was named Verkhoturov Island. And there's actually a grave on the island. It's where the father of the Komarov family is buried. Looks like this guy died in June 17th of 1931, the age of 63. They also do show another image of, it looks like that same little shack that we saw in that 2011 picture. It does give some lore about this shack. It says that it was built in the end of the 1900s by the Karaginsky State Industrial Enterprise, who guarded the 6,000 strong walrus rookery. And here's a closer picture of it. It does look like that exact same one in the photo. I spent quite a long time trying to find this little shack on this island, and I think I found it by matching up the mountains in the background. In the background of the photo, there's a big mountain, which I think is this one, and then a smaller mountain to the left, which I think is this one, with a valley in the middle. And if you trace where it should be, kind of a flatter section, it looks like this right here is the little shack. It's very hard to tell, but it kind of fits perfectly, and there was no other structures anywhere on this place that I could see that made sense for that. So if you happen to be on Verkhoturov Island, you know where to go in case of emergency. Come to the north part of the island right here, and you can have a little survival shelter. Although it's probably not well visited, so you might not be found for a while. Now, we also got to find out what this structure over here that we thought might be a lighthouse earlier. And they actually picture it here. They describe it as an old lighthouse that looks like a fortress tower. Here's what it looks like on the inside. There actually still is a ladder to get up to the top. Go support this guy, Traveling with Finval, who I'll put down in the description as well, because a lot of good info came from this website. As far as tourism here, I did find one cruise that goes to this island. It's a cruise from Chukotka to Kamchatka, and on one of the days, actually day 6, it goes to Verkhoturov Island. And basically they say you can meet stellar sea lions here. And one other thing I found out from the internet about Verkhoturov Island was the only species of bark beetles that can breed in the treeless part of the subarctic is found here on Verkhoturov Island, and was one of the only places it's been found. Here's what it looks like. So that was almost all the information I could find online about this place. For being one of the most unknown and hard to find info about islands in Russia, we actually found a fair bit out about this place and found some structures on this place, which is always a bonus. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna look for other cool places in Kamchatka to research and make a video about for you guys. Thanks for watching.